Hey guys, happy Monday. On today's episode of the John Campea Show, you know what? I didn't do a show yesterday, so I feel like it's Monday. It's Friday. Never mind. Let's try that again. Hey guys, welcome to the end of the week Friday. On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, Marvel debuted a new trailer for a surprise Blade game. The movie got announced like 3 years ago. Is this game going to come out before the movie does? Also, nobody seems to want that Coyote versus Acme movie. Zack Snyder's Rebel move has moved up its release date, but why did they do? We're going to discuss that. Also, Baldur's Gate 3 completely dominated the Game Awards. We're going to talk about that event. Mark Ruffalo's calling for a solo Hulk movie, and Marvel's Echo Show. First reviews have come out, and they're surprisingly promising. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts today on Friday, right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around. So we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but also giving you some background and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or even different than ours. Joining me in studio today, we got Ray Ora.
What a fine Wednesday morning it is today.
Jonathan Voico's here.
It's Thursday.
And the delightful Chris Carr is
It's
here.
the first day of Hanukkah.
Is
There
it?
you go.
Yeah.
See, I don't know what's a joke anymore.
No, it is.
Okay, first
You
thing.
have Apple products. You have all of these calendars.
You're right. It's true. I really do. Now I got that Adam Sandler song going in my head.
Yes.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making this show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by going through all those topics that I listed off. Then in the last part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, we already asked our beloved YouTube channel members to start throwing in some topics for us to discuss. We'll get through as many of those as we can. But if you're watching live, you guys can also use the super chat feature in the live chat, and we'll get to those topics and questions, provided they're appropriate to be used on our show. We'll get to those a little bit later. All right, guys, with that down, let's get things started here, shall we? We're going to start off with this. Last night was the annual Game Awards, and I got lucky enough, you, of course, guys know Dennis, and another friend of mine, Spencer, we went off, actually ended up being given a private box, like sitting like right beside Walton Goggins, which is pretty cool. So we're there at the Game Awards, first time I ever attended. Got to say they put on a good show. We'll talk more about that later. And of course, at the Game Awards, they really do more trailers than actual awards. And one of the trailers that kind of came out of nowhere and surprised everybody and got a huge pop from the crowd was that Marvel's doing a Blade game. And it shocked everybody, but it does raise some questions, like the question brought to you in today's Mint Mobile Hotline question of the day. Listen, guys, if you got a question for the show, you'd like to hear your voice on it, go ahead and call our Mint Mobile Hotline anytime, 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And today's question is specifically about that Blade trailer. Check it out.
Hey, John and crew. Love you guys. Chris here from New York. The Game Awards just finished and they premiered the trailer for Blade. So Marvel's working on Blade, the video game. I'm just curious, what do you guys think is coming out first, the game or the movie? What are your thoughts? Thanks.
I love his laugh. I love
Anyway,
it.
thank you for calling that in, Chris. And yeah, so last night at the Game Awards, they start playing this trailer and nobody really knows what it is. And there's a barber. If you guys haven't seen it, you should go look it up. Barber is giving a shave to somebody, but the barber's nervous. And then the barber cuts himself and he gets really worried. And the guy in the chair says, "Don't worry, I don't bite." And then the guy gets out of the chair and you realize it's Blade. He's got his sword and you see his vampire fangs. And the pop in that auditorium was huge. And we've been getting a couple of these. Of course, the Spider-Man game has been really popular. Then they announced that Wolverine game that we haven't really seen anything more from lately. But then they announced this Blade game. And they brought up the guy from Marvel and they brought up the guy from the game developer. And they're all really excited about it. And it looks really cool. It looks really fun. And I think, Ray, you would have been approving there because I think it really goes to, you know, speaks to the popularity of the character. As soon as people realized that was Blade, man, they got excited.
I was a little sad at first because lately a lot of these Marvel games are PlayStation exclusives.
Right.
And like I was just, I took my eyes off the screen, and so I never saw the Bethesda logo. So when I saw it, I was like, oh crap. Like I was so excited, fell out of my chair, but I was like, man, now I have to get a PlayStation. It wasn't until like maybe 2 hours after the video game.
You literally have a PlayStation 5.
I know,
20 feet
but I
that
mean,
way. Like right over there, you've got one.
I wanna do this all night and all morning. I literally fell off my chair when I saw the Blade thing, and I was like, then I got depressed. But then Ryan, my roommate, told me, oh no, it's Xbox because it's Bethesda.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that changes the whole thing. It might even be on Game Pass. I don't know.
Well, it brings up a more important question though.
Yeah.
Because the character is clearly popular. It was 3 years ago. It might have been 4 now, actually, that they announced that they were doing a Blade movie, right? Here we are now and getting ready to enter 2024, and we don't even have a completed script for a Blade movie. And the question that Chris is kind of bringing up, and I've heard a lot of people bring up in the last, 16 hours or so, has been, could this game, which they just announced now, 3+ years after they announced the Blade movie, is this game going to be out before the movie? And I'd say this, do keep in mind that when they announce these games, they're still usually a long way off. Like more than half of the games that they announced last night weren't coming out until minimum 2025, which means the next Game Awards is going to happen. And those games, all those games they announced still aren't out. So who knows? It could be 2025, it could be 2026 that this game is actually coming out. But I'm still going to say I think the game is going to come out before the movie. I really do. I mean, listen, I like the new writer they've got on for Blade. I really do. The reports we hear coming out of the development of it are sounding more positive. Mahershala Ali himself the other day said he's feeling pretty good with the direction everything's going.
Good.
Yep.
I didn't
Yeah,
hear
he
about
mentioned that. So
Good.
that's all good. But as of right now, I don't really have any reason to believe we're not going to have another big obstacle hit it or something like that.
Sure.
And again, they don't even have a completed script, let alone a production schedule or anything like that. So while the game is still probably a couple of years away, I still think, and I hope I'm wrong, but I still think we're going to get the game before we get the Blade movie.
Can I ask you something real quick? With this much time in this Blade movie, is it almost they have to make sure it knocks it out of the park at this point?
Well, you could honestly say that about every Marvel project right now. Marvel is in such a precarious position that I think they've got to start making sure their projects knock it out of the park. And with Blade, I will say this, it's almost less important for Blade to crush it. Because if Blade doesn't crush it, it's not like they've got a big investment in the character. It's not like they were setting Blade up to be the new Kang. Like they need Kang to work because so much is built around Kang. With Blade, I mean, if Blade comes out and it's bad, they just don't do another Blade and it doesn't really affect anything too much.
It just has to be better than Morbius.
It's
The Marvel vampiric level is so low.
Yeah, right now, our vampire super film, the bar is set really low.
As long as they don't do like some Batman Begins bullshit that they're like, oh, a tube of bats? I
There
feel
we
like
go.
it's going to be a fine movie.
Chris, you probably saw the trailer online.
Yeah.
Where do you thinking right now? First of all, I think the trailer and the Pop of God shows that people are hungry for Blade content.
Oh, yeah.
But what do you think about that? Are we going to get the movie before we get the game? What do you think?
In a perfect world, these will come out at the same time.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That is what I really hope. Game development typically takes 3 to 5 years post-announcement, which is the same trajectory of the Blade movie itself, which was announced in 2019 at Comic-Con. The one thing I keep thinking, though, is did Mahershala Ali see this trailer and go, son of a bitch, you kidding me? I think it'd be really, really wonderful if they could come out around the same time so we have a little bit of synergy for them, so we've got some excitement for both things. But people are really ravenous for Blade content, and it's because we haven't had any since the 90s, and we just keep getting kind of teased along with this Blade movie. It keeps starting and stopping. There's way too many issues that have happened. I'm glad they're on the right trajectory right now. But like you were saying, it feels like there's going to be another hurdle just because this movie feels like Murphy's Law. Yeah. Anything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And I hope that's not the case because I love this actor. I love this character. I'm a huge fan of this IP. but it's becoming my new Flash, guys. Is it gonna be real?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, speaking of synergy, Godzilla has had a little synergy
Heck
with
yeah.
last week. Hasn't it been working out really great with
Why
this
are we talking about Godzilla? We're talking
Monarch
about-
minus
wait.
one? No, she's
Well,
talking about
synergy. He said synergy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Where we're talking about synergy, it can work for multiple platforms. Like if
Yeah,
if-
with Monarch being on TV, -1 coming out, the new Godzilla X Kong stuff being advertised. Yeah, that's true. It can
I
it can
finally
build
started
momentum.
watching Ray.
Monarch.
Yeah.
Did you see the last episode?
I didn't see the newest
I haven't
episode
seen
yet.
the latest, yeah,
Okay.
but I
But
binged
I've
the
been
others
loving
on
the show.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, I saw -1.
Did you like it?
So there you go.
I
Yeah.
still have to see that.
All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Speaking of projects with drama, many of us will remember that Warner Brothers, after the film had finished its principal photography and everything like that, even had a cut all ready to go, they pulled the plug on Coyote versus Acme, the hybrid animation live action thing. Now, what's of course funny about us in the fan community, and we all do this, I'm guilty of this, you're guilty of this, everybody. Nobody cares about something, and then once somebody does something to it, everybody all of a sudden acts like they cared. Nobody was talking about Coyote versus Acme. I mean, nobody was talking about Coyote versus Acme. We did a story in the show about them developing it a long time ago, and I don't think we've ever gotten one question sent in about it. But as soon as they announced they were pulling the plug on it, everybody acted like it was the most anticipated thing they've been looking forward to in their entire life. Well, fortunately, a couple of good things have happened. One, we heard that there was a screening done for certain people in the industry to see. And a lot of people like Lord and Miller and others have come out and said, this movie's great. Good. And then Warner Brothers decided, you know what? Instead of just shelving it, we're going to shop it around. We're going to shop it around. So if some other company wants to pick it up, shell out $30 or $40 million to market it and all that kind of stuff, we'll let them do it. So we'll shop it around, see if somebody wants to put it. And everybody celebrated. And I thought that was a good move. Everybody celebrated. But there's a problem. Apparently nobody wants it. This comes to us from the industry insider Puck, and they wrote the following. It's not looking great for Coyote versus Acme. The Looney Tunes movie that was crapped, should have said scrapped, but maybe crapped is the better word. That was scrapped by Warner Brothers and is being shopped by the filmmakers to potential distributors. Netflix expressed interest, but at less than half of the $70 million production cost. Conversations ended there. I'm told Warner doesn't need to be made entirely whole, like they don't need 70 million, but the film heads, Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, who are the heads of Warner Brothers, do want to get something semi-decent in exchange for the brand confusion that will be caused by seeing a Looney Tunes movie debut on another platform, for instance, like an Amazon or whatever. Now, some of you reading that might go, well, wait a minute, John, wait a minute. We just read. There's a report going around that I believe it's Amazon and Paramount
Yep.
are interested in it. Yeah, but if you read that report more fully, they haven't made an offer. Nobody's made an offer. The only offer that's been made for this movie has around, the number I heard was $30 million for a movie that cost $70 million to make. So, I mean, whether or not Amazon actually steps up and actually, it's one thing to say you're interested. It's another thing to actually write a check and say, here's my offer. Whether or not Amazon or Paramount, which is pretty money strapped right now, will actually step up and make an offer, don't know. And then even if they do make an offer, will it be an offer that's good enough that Warner Brothers won't just get more out of it as a tax write-off? And that's been the problem. Because I think when they announced that they were going to let them shop this around, I think some people, including me to a degree, I have to admit, thought they'll get a good offer on it. I mean, no one's going to offer them $150 million for this project, but they'll get some good offers. Apparently, all the industry insiders are saying nobody wants it, which is, I guess, on the one hand, understandable, because even if it's good, does anybody believe this thing is actually going to make any money? And not a lot of people do. On the other hand, maybe it's not so surprising. I don't know. Anyway, Chris, you heard about this. Mm-hmm. Listen, there was some enthusiasm getting generated when we heard from that screening that people like Lord and Miller, who know something about animation, said it's really great. They greenlit letting it be shopped around. Are you surprised at this point that they're not actually getting any offers on this? Or what do you think ultimately is going to happen with this film?
There are so many times in my life where I'm bummed that I'm poor. And this is one of them.
This is one of them.
Where it's,
Otherwise, I'd make an offer.
I want to be a big studio and I'd buy it because, this was based on a New Yorker article that is hysterical. It's such a funny premise of Wile E. Coyote finally going into litigation against Acme, as he should.
That's right. He's been
he
screwed
should.
so many
These
times.
products are bullshit. So good for you, buddy. We heard so many positive things coming out the gate about this. But I do think people are in a position, studios are in a position, I should say, where animated projects might be a bit of a gamble, especially if you're going for a theatrical release as opposed to putting it on your streaming network. And if you're going to put it on your streaming network, excuse me, guys, I have a really bad cold. I'm not contagious and it's not COVID. You're not going to make any money streaming this, right? Unless it's kind of a pay-per-view thing or you think you're going to get subscribers from it. You really won't. Not enough to kind of move the needle. So a theatrical release is the only way you're going to really make money off of something like this. And that's what I think will hold people back from something, even if it is really strong quality. Because contrary to popular belief, this did originally have a theatrical date set. It was lined up with Barbie. Good call, guys. And so I think that's
Barbie
kind of
Yodi.
the... I would have seen that triple feature. It would have been great.
Barbie. What?
Explosions here, explosions in Oppenheim, go straight to Barbie. But I think it's a tough market right now for little fun films like this because it's just not particularly cost effective.
And this is going to raise the question.
Mm-hmm.
If at the end of the day, nobody's willing to offer Warner Brothers a reasonable amount and Warner Brothers ends up recouping more money by ledging this movie as a write-off, does that mean Warner Brothers was right? But at the end of the day, are they going to be proved right in doing this if nobody's willing to step up and put their money where their mouth is and say, here's a check for this thing? You know what? I'm going to be optimistic. I think somebody will come along and make an offer for this. I think if Amazon and Paramount do get involved and say even put in lowball offers, I think there could be value in this for Netflix and maybe Netflix comes back and improves their offer a bit. I mean, it's not going to be 70.
No.
But I think even if they can get an offer up to like 45 million, I think at that point, Warner Brothers looks at it and goes, you know what? If you want to buy it off us for 45 million, we're still losing money, but that's better than the tax write-off we'll get if we just shelve it. And so I think at the end of the day, somebody will come in at 45.
I really hope so, because I really don't like this being the new norm of just shelving completed projects. I really don't like it. And Warner Brothers has done this quite a bit. And it's a bummer to see. It's always disappointing when anyone makes art of any kind that doesn't get to be seen, you know? And I think that's always so unfortunate. So I really hope somebody buys it.
We also have to keep in mind, it sucks, but we also have to keep in mind that it's easy for us to feel that way when it's not our money.
Oh, sure.
Right? Like if
I'm
somebody
great
else
at spending other people's money.
because if it's, and we're all great at spending
So
other
good
people's
at
money,
it.
but it's like, if you're a studio in business, you realize, okay, we've put a lot of money and effort and energy and whatever into this, but the reality is it now looks like we're going to recoup more of our money for this if we just axe it than if we put it in theaters. We're going to lose even more money. I mean, it just becomes, maybe that means they got to be more careful about what they greenlight.
So was this a case where the people who were making decisions at Warner Brothers before Zaslav took over, was this one of those movies that
This was a project
decided...
that was greenlit under AT&T.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
before
Okay.
Warner Brothers Discovery owned them. This is a movie that got underway then. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm going to be optimistic. I think at the end of the day, I do think somebody's going to pick this up for a lowball number, but just enough that it makes more financial sense for Warner Brothers to go for it than not. So anyway, fingers crossed, here's hoping, because I keep hearing that this movie's really quite good. All right. With that down, guys, let's move into this, shall we? There is a little movie coming out called Rebel Moon. Of course, it's Zack Snyder's newest movie. It's not theatrical, although they are going to do a limited theatrical release. Keep your eyes open in your area. See if maybe they're going to do a screening around you. But it is being destined for Netflix. And it was supposed to come out on one day, but now it's been moved up by one day. Anyway, this comes from the folks over at Superhero Hype. Write this. Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon is coming to Netflix one day earlier than previously expected. Announced in a tweet from the official Netflix account, Snyder's Rebel Moon, also known as Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, was originally supposed to hit Netflix on December 22nd, 2023. However, it will now begin streaming at 7 p.m. Pacific time on December 21st,
Oh, I mean, this
Whoa.
changes everything.
2023.
Awesome.
And lo, there was great rejoicing. Listen, I got to say, I haven't loved the trailers, but I'm fascinated by this project. And I am really interested because I think I liked Snyder's last movie, Army of the Dead. I think I liked it a little bit more than most people. I quite enjoyed I don't think it was an Oscar contender or anything, but I had a good time with it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I love Sophia Boutella. I love, why am I afraid, Charlie Hunnam, who played Jax in Sons of Anarchy. I love Jaimon Hansu. And, you know, I'm a sucker for sci-fi epics, stuff like that. I'm excited to see this. But I'm going to tell you why they moved this thing by one day. Because I've already heard a lot of people say, "What? Well, why move it by one day?" I'll tell you why they moved it by one day, right? Nobody from Netflix told me this, but I'll tell you why they moved it by one day. Because it put them in the news. I mean, and you know what? I don't say that as a bad thing. That's really smart. What is a free, easy way to get our project back on the news cycle?
Sex tape.
Well, yes, there's that.
Okay.
That would be the other option.
Okay.
Other than that,
I like that answer a lot more.
let's announce a change of release date. And even though it was just moving it by one day, nay, with it coming out on Netflix, it was probably going to drop at midnight. Really, they just moved this thing by about 5 hours. By moving the release of this by 5 hours, they're in almost every trade that I looked in this morning. Like most of the, not all of them, but most of the news sources that I follow had Rebel Moon moves up release date. It put them right front and center. And here we are today talking about it. And I'm going to say, brilliant move. You really didn't have to do anything. And you put the movie at the top of the news cycle again. And listen, I am excited to see this. I think this has the potential to be really good. Now, the question I have though, Chris, when it comes to Rebel Moon, because there are two different Zack Snyders, right? There's the Zack Snyder who gave us Man of Steel, the Zack Snyder who gave us 300. Then there's the Zack Snyder who gave us Sucker Punch. And thankfully, more of Zack Snyder's films are likened unto 300 and Man of Steel.
Yes.
Actually, you know what? I'll say this. The only Zack Snyder film that I really didn't like was Sucker Punch. That's probably the only one I didn't like. But I look at Rebel Moon and I feel like this could be another 300. And then I feel like it could also be another Sucker Punch when I look at it. And that's, I'm curious to see which one is going to end up being. Anyway, what do you think about the release date change? And where's your anticipation level like right now for Rebel Moon?
The only thing I could think of going into this was just to beat Aquaman by a day. Because isn't Aquaman December 22nd?
Oh, that's actually, yeah.
So just, hey, stay home. You don't have to go to the theaters to see something epic.
By the way, I don't think anybody's worried about how much business Aquaman's going to eat up.
Fair. That's fair. It's just going to be my husband buying all the tickets.
I'll
Going,
be there
I love
too.
these.
Me
I
and
love
Logan,
these
we'll go
movies.
see it.
Yeah, they're great movies. So this is the thing with Zack Snyder too, and I'm going to be very clear because some of you get so upset because you're not listening. So the problem with Sucker Punch, right, is that it went.
Oh, you gotta be
style.
kidding me.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
Opinions.
Ugh.
The problem with Sucker Punch is that it's so style over substance, right? And because I'm somebody who will apologize for certain aspects of Sucker Punch because there are really, really cool moments in it. It's just clunky and messy, right? 300 is incredibly stylistic. It feels like they took the actual pages of that comic and went right on screen and made it transfer so beautifully. So he has this style that really, really works when he also focuses on great storytelling, great acting, all of those other things that come into play, right? So I'm hoping that this sci-fi epic that he is promising us actually delivers that. I also really want this to do well just so everyone can move on. Zack Snyder has talked about how he is leaving the superhero genre and wants to focus on other things. And day after day, I still have people commenting on pictures of me doing stand-up or my puppies saying, "You're so wrong about Zack Snyder." Listen to the man. When someone tells you something, believe them at face value. If he doesn't want to be making DC movies, fans of Zack Snyder, you still get to enjoy all those DC things he did. You get to still love that. But give this a shot, because if you like this, it does well. The likelihood of making more epic movies is very, very high.
Yeah, Sucker Punch was, I mean, it was a weird thing, because if you turn the volume off on Sucker Punch, I know it sounds weird, but if you turn the volume off on Sucker Punch, it looks like a great movie, and it's visually stunning. It's actually absolutely, like, Snyder, whatever criticism some people may have of him, Snyder is a wonderful visual storyteller. He really is. And Sucker Punch is part of that. Unfortunately, if you turn the volume on and you realize this movie makes no sense.
You start hearing the story.
Yeah,
and
the
you go,
story. And it sucked because it was like Anne, my wife Anne, one of her best friends in college, her sorority sister, Jamie Chung, is one of the stars of that movie. So it was whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, they moved it by one day so they could do exactly what we're doing. Get people talking about it again and put it at the forefront of everybody's minds. And I'm very, very excited about checking it out finally. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about Baldur's Gate 3 completely dominating the Game Awards. Mark Ruffalo wants to do more Hulk. And of course, Echo, as the first reviews are coming out, and they actually sound good. Anyway, that and a bunch more. But before we get to those, we're going to take a quick second and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Quip and MasterClass. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Quip. Good health starts with good habits, and Quip makes forming good dental habits easy by delivering all of the oral care essentials that you need to care for your mouth. I've already told you guys about their incredible toothbrush that is now my favorite toothbrush I've ever owned, and their mints and gum are amazing. But now I want to tell you about their water flosser. It hits all the right spots with gentle or deep cleaning pressure at the touch of a button. And don't worry about recharging. The cordless rechargeable battery lasts up to 8 weeks with daily use, no bulky charger or dock or tangled cords. It blasts away up to 99.9% of plaque and popcorn from treated areas with precision thanks to the 360-degree rotating magnetic floss tip that snaps right into place. It's easy to control water flow that leaves you feeling squeaky clean. And the sleek and slim design, it keeps your countertops as clean as your teeth. So guys, if you go to getquip.com/Campea right now, you'll get 20% off any electric toothbrush, mint and gum dispenser, and water flosser. That's 20% off any electric toothbrush, mint and gum dispenser, water flosser at getquip.com/Campea. Spelt GETQUIP.com/Campea. Quip, the good habits company. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, MasterClass. Guys, you know, as a small business owner, I am finding myself having to be in negotiations all the time, whether it's with new contractors, vendors, or even agencies that represent our company. Now, I don't like to go into these negotiations unarmed, so I found the perfect class on MasterClass, The Art of Negotiation by Chris Voss, a real-life former FBI lead hostage negotiator. Taking this class on MasterClass made me feel a lot more equipped and confident going into all these various negotiations I have to do on a regular basis. MasterClass makes a meaningful gift this season for you and anyone on your list, because both of you can learn from the best to become your best, from leadership to effective communication to cooking. Every instructor, thousands of online lessons, exclusive content, insight, and much more. There are over 180 classes to pick from, everything from filmmaking with Martin Scorsese all the way to cooking with the great Gordon Ramsay. In MasterClass, you will find practical lessons that you can apply to your life and work. This holiday season, give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/Campea. Right now, you can get 2 memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/Campea. Masterclass.com/Campea. Offer terms apply. And thank you to our friends at Quip and MasterClass for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, it was a night of great victory and triumph if you worked on Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 last night took home the awards, more awards than any other game at the Game Awards last night. Also, by the way, here you can bring this up, Jonathan, if we can get this in there. That's me. Of course, Dennis was with me as well. Dennis N was there. We ended up scoring like a private box at the Game Awards. Had a great time. By the way, they brought out the orchestra to perform the song from one of the Final Fantasy games, and they announced Lauren Allred came out. You may not recognize her name, but she's actually the vocalist who sings Never Enough in The Greatest Showman. And then she was a big hit on Britain's Got Talent. Anyway, she's one of my favorite singers in the world. So I had no idea she was going to be there. She came out, performed. Absolutely fun. And a lot of interesting people came out on stage at the awards last night. Jordan Peele came out. Matthew McConaughey came out. Anthony Mackie came out. Simu Liu, Shang-Chi came out. Timothée Chalamet came out. He actually ended up being doing the presenting for Game of the Year. But, of course, the big thing is the Game Awards. Baldur's Gate 3, which I contend may be the greatest video game ever made. It actually won the 2 top prizes. The one prize it took was Player's Voice. That is the 100% voted on by fans. So fans voted on it. The nominees were Legends of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man 2, Genshin Impact, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, and of course Baldur's Gate 3. And Baldur's Gate 3 won the Player's Choice. And then, of course, Baldur's Gate 3 also took home the big award of the night, which was Game of the Year. It was nominated against Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legends of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. And so it took both the fan-voted award and the overall Game of the Year award. A couple of interesting notes. Alan Wake 3 was another big winner on the evening. It won things like Best Game Direction. I think it also won Best Narrative. So it won a couple of the big awards. Baldur's Gate 3 took home 6 awards, including Best Performance by, I forget the actor's name, but he's the guy who does the voice of the vampire Asterion in it. So that was kind of a no-brainer, although he was nominated against Idris Elba. But he won, so it overall won 6. Another interesting note, though, Spider-Man 2, shut out. Nominated in a bunch of categories, didn't actually end up taking home any. Super Mario Bros. Wonder won Family Game of the Year. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom took home 1 or 2 awards as well. Overall, it was just a really fun night. I got to make my annual commentary, though, on the Game Awards. It really shouldn't be called the Game Awards because, like, about 5, I'm not exaggerating, about 5% of the 3-hour show was awards. The other 95% were commercials. It was just trailers. And there's nothing wrong with that. It got a lot of people excited. I just think you should probably rename the event to what it is. Call it the Game Preview Celebration Night.
Plus awards.
Plus a couple of awards. You know, put that in there. But I got to say, for being there live, for a 3-hour show, it just moved. It felt very quick. The pacing of it was really great. You disagree?
I was a little, I'm not a fan of long speeches or whatever.
There weren't many long speeches.
But I was turned off by that a little bit when, like, the guys didn't even get like 15 seconds and they would start playing music. Especially when there's people up there that was really proud to win and that had tears in their eyes. They're just trying to say something nice, and that music starts playing over what
they got to get to the new commercials, Ray. They got more trailers to play.
But here's the thing. There's going to be people that make long speeches, and there's going to be people that go up and just say, hey, thanks, everyone, for supporting the game. Those will even out. I just hated how they just 20 seconds, 15 seconds. They couldn't even get that. They couldn't even say, thank you, Mom,
forget
the
that.
music playing.
Forget that. You know what's worse than that? The vast majority of the awards, the winners never got to come up and say anything. Because what they would do is, and I hate that they do
sidebar
this.
It.
Yeah. They play 20 minutes of trailers. Then it comes back to the show host. He's like, all right, it's time to give out some more awards. In the category of this, the nominees were this, 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 and this, and the winner was this. The next category, like literally in about 65 seconds, they blew through 4 categories. Just here's the nominees, not even putting up pictures of the nominees or anything, just under the category of best family game. Nominees are blah, 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 and the winner was blah, blah, blah. Under the category of this, blah, blah, blah. And they did that for like most of the categories. And it's called, you call it the Game Awards, right? So that's supposed to be the focus of the evening is the awards, but they literally treat the awards as an absolute secondary thought so they could play more trailers. And listen, to its credit, the audience and a lot of the people who are tuning in to see the previews for the new games coming. Right. And that's very exciting for a lot of people. And I'll give them credit for this too. I felt like this year, I might be wrong, but I felt like this year they gave a little bit more time to the awards. Like instead of 5%, they might have given it 6% of their
They're
show.
still trying to find their footing.
So
I
yeah,
think.
they're just finding their footing.
You know.
It's getting a little bit there, but I got to admit the show had great pace. They kept the whole thing moving pretty well.
So you're saying it didn't feel 3 hours long.
It felt faster being there in person, and normally it's the opposite. But being there in person, it felt faster.
Because to be honest, I switched it off halfway through. It was going too long, at least for my attention span. I did go back and watch like other people's videos of what else dropped after I stopped watching. But yeah, it was still a little too long for me in that way, which is weird because I say, hey, let them speak, which ends up being the boring part. But I just think it was more of like an ethics, like respect, like what I feel like people deserve. If you win an award, you deserve to be able to thank the people that helped you, you know what I mean? And not get cut off by music. Like give them at least 10 more seconds time before you start playing music. It seemed a little off-putting to me, like kind of a little disrespectful. I mean, especially for the ones
like
that
I said,
went up there.
the people who got 10
Yeah.
seconds got 10 more seconds than
Yeah.
most of the winners last night.
That's just me though.
But I'll also say this. Last night, I think you also saw the formula for what makes a good video game trailer. I feel like everybody got the same notes on the formula because a lot of the trailers just felt like they were all blurred into one. Like 9 out of every 10 trailers, and there were some great trailers, don't get me wrong, but about 9 out of every 10 trailers was show epic sweeping large landscape shot, show shot of characters in game running across said landscape, hard cut to shot of characters hack slash, put up superimposed title of In a World, show another wide scoping, Pandora view of what's going on in the world, right? I'd say 8 out of every 10 trailers last night kind of felt the same. And there are some big exceptions to that. But this one game company, they're introducing this game, and I cannot remember the name of it. Guys in the live chat, help me out if you remember the name of it. But they came out. It's the same company that makes No Man's Sky, and they announced.
Oh yeah, that game looks amazing.
The open world game.
Yeah, where they're like, it's almost like a Dungeons and Dragons.
Here's what I love about it. In all these open world games, you get, like, say World of Warcraft, just as an example, right? Okay, yeah, you've got the world, but there's like 50 different servers, and if you're on a different server than your buddy, you can both be in the same town, but you're not actually in the same town. This game,
Is it called Light No Fire?
Yes.
It's one world, one giant open world, and everybody's playing on that same world. And I love the concept of it.
They call it like a different Earth, and it's up to you to discover what's on that planet. So it's like you're going in with your buddies, and you're doing things that all of you guys are doing for the first time, like uncovering things, and that game looks so good.
I'm so intrigued by it.
You know what? We lost E3 a couple of years back, right? How long has E3 been gone? I am glad we do have something like this, where we do have like a
showcase.
A showcase where a lot of people, because I was in watching it on YouTube, and there's 800K people in that chat room. You know what I mean? So there was eyes on these products. I'm glad we do have something like this.
Yeah, and of course you got the new Jordan Peele project coming out. That
I didn't see that one. What was that?
It was called Overdose, and it's made by the guy who made Solid Gear.
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid.
Kojima.
Yeah. So he's making it with him. Again, there were some really cool things, but it's just that I felt like 80% of the trailers just felt like the same trailer over and over and over again. But overall, I had a really fun time. And again, Baldur's Gate 3, big winner of the night, both the game of the year and the fan voted best game of the year. I believe it may be the best video game ever made. So the question, of course, then starts to become, will they start talking about adaptation? By the way, I should throw out, I think, I might be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, I may very well be wrong about this, but I think this was the first year that they had the category best adaptation. So Twisted Metal was nominated, like adaptation to a TV show or movie, Twisted Metal, Mario Brothers, but everybody knew who was going to win. Last of Us won best adaptation, but I think that can become a legitimate thing going on. Anthony Mackie came out to announce that Twisted Metal is going to get a second season.
Yeah.
A lot of good things, but Chris, Baldur's Gate, Big winner of the night. I couldn't be more thrilled. I was so excited when it won. In this new era where making video game adaptations, we hear good things about Twisted Metal. I still haven't seen it. You did, Ray.
Oh yeah.
The Mario Brothers, the second biggest box office film of the year. Last of Us, best show on television in the last few years. In a world and a landscape now where adaptations are more and more feasible than ever, and with Baldur's Gate winning all the awards that it's winning, could we get a Baldur's Gate movie, considering that Dungeons and Dragons, and Baldur's Gate is basically Dungeons and Dragons, considering Dungeons and Dragons just bombed at the box office, despite the fact that it was awesome. Do you think one of the studios might step up and take a crack at doing a Baldur's Gate movie?
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of the same rise we saw with comic IP, right? For a while, graphic novels were the fastest grossing form of entertainment, and that's gotten just inked out by video games in the last few recent years. Video games being the most high-selling, high-grossing entertainment kind of thing that you can have right now. There's a reason why people want this IP, because it already is so cinematic. It's already so beautifully done. The cutscenes in these are amazing. The motion capture, the performance capture work is some of the best acting that you can see out there. Neil Newborn is who won, and I actually, I actually show people his work from Resident Evil: The Village, because you can watch his mocap performance before they rendered it online, and he's phenomenal. He's so great. So I definitely think there's potential for that, and I think that's why these properties keep getting bought up. That all being said, you may have noticed too, there were a lot of people striking outside of the Video Game Awards because these motion capture artists are paid so poorly. So there's also that kind of thing that we have to come to terms with too, of this is amazing entertainment. We really like it. We love how realistic it is. The combat feels so lived in. I love this game so much because I can play as this character and I experience agency through them, right? Performance capture video game stuff is the most connected you're ever going to be to your audience, which is amazing. We as an audience also have to then contend with, well, if we really appreciate that work, one, do we want to see it in our TV and film? And two, do we want to give the original performers their flowers? And I think we should.
I got to say, I didn't see any protesters outside.
Oh, okay. It was posted all online.
Yeah. Again, it's a Peacock Theater is a very large place. So just because where I went in the door, that doesn't mean they weren't there.
They're mostly right now just trying to make it so non-union actors also stop agreeing to do these non-union contracts. So for SAG actors, it's like, yeah, we don't do those. That's not allowed. But they're trying to now get non-union actors as well to not do it because they're getting taken advantage of.
All right, guys. With that down, again, if you haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, play Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's the best game I've ever played. So good. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, and all the good things that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has done since their inception with Iron Man, one of the things that they've really crapped the bed on is what they've done with Hulk. Hulk, which was like one of the coolest characters in there. I remember I just about pissed myself and jumped out of my seat watching the Avengers for the first time. And Bruce goes, that's the thing, I'm always angry. And then one punches that thing out, smash and look around, wrecking shop and all these alien fools. One of the greatest things is finally the Hulk we've been waiting to see. And now he attends family barbecues wearing Hawaiian shirts and has a kid apparently with a bowl cut. That's Hulk now.
Yes.
That's Hulk. And they've kind of ruined it. Now, one of the things that has really been talked a lot about the last number of years is when can we get or would we get a solo Hulk film? That's been complicated, of course, by the rights issue with Universal. Universal doesn't have the rights to make a Hulk film. That's still with Marvel. But Universal has the distribution rights, which means if Marvel makes a Hulk movie, then Universal gets to be the company that distributes it instead of Disney. So that's, of course, been a problem. But that's not stopping Mark Ruffalo from still talking about the fact that he really does want a standalone Hulk film, even though he's been told not to talk about it anymore. This comes from the folks over at Screenwriter Right. Speaking to comicbook.com, the actor, Mark Ruffalo, who has played Bruce Banner / the Hulk since Marvel's The Avengers, revealed that he has, quote, been asked not to comment on Hulk's standalone future. However, he remained hopeful that Disney might one day, quote unquote, work it out, adding, I think it could be really cool, and I've been putting a lot into what it could be to be cool. I don't know yet. So a couple things there. It also sounds like he's been actively working with people to try to develop an idea for a standalone Hulk. Here's the thing, though, and I'm really curious to know what everybody else feels about this. There are few characters that I have loved as much in the MCU as Savage Hulk. Savage Hulk is like one of the most fun things you can throw on screen. Take any movie, any MCU movie, and then drop Savage Hulk into it and see what happens. Shang-Chi is great. Suddenly at that final battle, drop Savage Hulk into it. Black Widow, the movie's all right, but drop Savage Hulk into it suddenly. See what happens. I mean, just few things. But I've always wondered can you actually truly make a movie revolving around the character? Because they've taken a couple of shots at it with varying degrees of success. But with where the character is now, because correct me if I'm wrong, but most people now, when they bring up the idea of a Hulk movie, what people really want to see is World War Hulk, right? That's mainly what people are talking about. And the MCU is just nowhere near where you could do a World War Hulk right now. Like, forget the fact that, like, we have a Hawaiian shirt barbecue attending Hulk that is nowhere near a danger to take over the world at this moment. But the state of the MCU as a whole, because the whole premise of a World War Hulk is that all the main heroes forming the Illuminati have banished Hulk off to Sakaar, which is something they've already kind of covered in Thor Ragnarok. A bomb is supposed to go off that kills his family. He comes back to Earth with an army of his own, seeking vengeance on those who he holds responsible, being all the major heroes. Being Professor X, being Reed Richards, being Namor, being Doctor Strange, being Black Panther, the Illuminati, right? Coming back to do that, blah, blah, blah. That is just a very difficult movie to do. Mm-hmm. And while I love that he still wants to see Hulk, I'll be honest with you. I have no interest in seeing a Professor Hulk movie at all. And I don't know that they're within 10 years of being able to put together a World War Hulk.
They possibly can do, if they really want to put a Hulk movie out there, maybe a Planet Hulk before Ragnarok, where they show his rise to being the top gladiator. They could do something like that. But other than that, I think World War Hulk is way too Avengers epic. Like, you'd have to get all those actors in there. It's just a tough task. Yeah, I agree. It would be a tough task to do a World War Hulk unless it was like animated.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I have no interest in seeing a prequel.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying, I think a lot of people would agree that it's like, we don't need to go back to see how he got there. I mean, because we already know how it all resolves itself and all that kind of stuff. And then you still got to deal with the Universal issue, right? So as much as I love Ruffalo's can-do spirit, I have a lot of doubts that anything like this is ever going to happen. If they could make it happen, I'd be curious, but I just don't know if they can. Chris, what are you thinking about all this?
I love Mark Ruffalo so much that I want it to happen.
Yeah.
I really want it to happen for him. If you haven't watched his Hot Ones, please do. It's so good. It just came out. He eats the whole wing onto bomb. Why, Mark? Why? I think this would be really, really great if it could happen organically and in a way that doesn't feel shoehorned, right? Because we have had this build up to the kinder, gentler Hulk. We've had Professor Hulk and everything. My least favorite version of the Hulk, honestly. I think it'd be really, really awesome if we could see him just absolutely lose it and go full Savage Hulk. I just don't know how we get there from where we are right now in a way that doesn't feel, again, shoehorned. It feels like right now it's, well, we really want Planet Hulk, but we jumped a bunch of steps to get there. And going backwards is not the answer here, I feel. I think there just has to be some other event that would cause it, but I don't know how they do it. I really, really don't. Honestly, if we could just get Banner back, that's really what I would like. I would just like normal Banner.
Yeah,
hanging
listen,
out.
some of my favorite stuff in the MCU has literally just been banter between Tony and Banner.
Yeah.
Like, some of that stuff has been great. Now, there is a path I suppose they could take. You start off a story with somehow Hulk and Banner get separated again. I mean, not physically separated, but mentally separated, right? Banner is Banner, and then he turns into Hulk. Bah. And then maybe the heroes of Earth go, yeah, we can't have this because off the chain, that Hulk is way too dangerous. And they do something that goes wrong, and Hulk takes it the wrong way and decides, I'm going to wreck everybody. Okay, so you can't really follow the Planet Hulk to World War Hulk storyline as it is in the comics, and that's fine. No comic book movie has ever followed the comic purely, at least not in DC or the MCU. So you could maybe theoretically do that, but then that comes up to the problem that you were pointing out too, Ray, is that, well, now that movie isn't just some standalone movie. That's now an Avengers level movie because because everybody has to be in that movie. You have to have everybody in it. You got to have Doctor Strange in it. You got to have Black Panther in it. You got to have Shang-Chi in it. You got to have, everybody who's in the MCU right now has got to be in it because that's who Hulk is taken out. And I just don't see how they do that right.
You also run the risk of running your top heroes to the ground by having Hulk like smash them super badly. You know what I mean? So Hulk is other than from all the other heroes, he's a unique situation that, like Chris said, they have to be delicate with it and then like making sure it fits, because we run into that problem of a cinematic universe again. You know what I mean? You can't just maybe they could do a standalone off of the cinematic universe Hulk movie. I don't know.
But
like
even that's still the universal problem.
I think they could have elements of this happening in Secret Wars where when he's blipped to the whatever.
To Battle World.
He's separated from
yeah, you could use the Secret Wars to start laying the groundwork for a future Hulk project.
And even then after
That'd be fun.
he's still not repaired and that could lead into something.
I was going to go very left field. What if the Void gets detached from the Sentry?
Well, that's the end of everything.
Daddy Day Hulk.
And gets up in that noggin.
Yeah.
And kill Scar.
Honestly, I know that's a really dark thing, but if he murders his own kid, I don't know how you come back from that, but
Well, because that would be, again, very different from the comic, but in the spirit of the comic, right? Because listen, I haven't heard one person, and maybe they are out there, I just haven't heard from them personally, that saw Scar at the end of She-Hulk and goes, I'm interested in this character. I want to see what this bowl cut kid is going to do. I didn't hear one single person. But if the whole purpose of that kid is to die, to give Hulk a rage on, maybe that gives it a narrative. Maybe that's why they put Scar in there, just to give them the launching point of what makes Bruce lose it. Because it's not Nat anymore. They ditched on that romance way too soon, by the way. I thought
absolutely.
I thought the Banner Natasha romance could have been one of the best things they'd done.
Yep.
I still think one of the best lines in Marvel ever is in Age of Ultron when Black Widow's saying, and so I'm always meeting these guys eager to run into the fight, but then I meet this guy who runs away from the fight because he knows he'll win. I'm like, that is one of the best lines they've ever had in the MCU, and they totally crap the bed with it and just let it go.
I've heard that.
The other thing, if you kill off Scar, and I know you're not super into this idea, but Young Avengers, if he is hanging out with the Young Avengers and you have somebody that powered up get fridged, that adds like super fun, happy playtime for the teenagers, feels very, very legitimate, and oh shit, none of us are safe.
I'll tell you what, I'll do you one better.
Ooh.
Do that and have whatever it is kill all of the Young Avengers.
No, we're not killing all the kids.
Except for maybe Ms. Marvel. She survived. She was getting, Doritos at the store while all the Young Avengers are getting killed.
Yeah.
You want Kate Bishop dead?
With all the cats.
Yes, I do.
Oh, what a thing to say.
Anne's going to disown me for saying that. All right, guys.
Let's just cut the
With
show off now.
that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Speaking of the MCU, one of the things that they've done that hasn't been so good, at least in my opinion, is the Hawkeye series. I love the Hawkeye character. I really do. I just didn't think they did a good job with that show. And of course, one of the characters they introduced in that show was Echo. And the idea, of course, is a tried and true formula. You introduce a character to help build up excitement and anticipation for when that character has their own solo thing. Bringing T'Challa into Civil War, that led then into the Black Panther movie, right? That's the idea, to build up excitement. The problem is, the writers on Hawkeye did such a bad job with this really interesting character of Echo that it actually had the opposite effect. It made me, and a lot of people I know, less interested in I would have been more interested in Echo show if they just launched an Echo show cold. But the way they used Echo in the Hawkeye series lessened my interest. And you guys know I've been very open and honest about this. I've had zero interest in the Echo show. Less than zero, as a matter of fact. I've even thought maybe they should just scrap the series. But it is coming out. And a lot of people felt that way too. Then probably the best trailer that Marvel has ever put out for a Disney Plus show. They put out the trailer for Echo, and this is the power of a good trailer. It completely flipped the narrative. All of a sudden, this show that when you brought it up and everybody would go, who cares about that? All of a sudden, a whole bunch of people are going, I want to see this now. This looks good. And listen, credit where it's due. The trailer was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And it did what I thought was impossible. It made me interested in seeing this show. But it's one thing to have a good trailer. We've all seen lots of great trailers to movies or shows that we ended up hating, right? So it's one thing to have a good trailer. Well, the first reactions and reviews are now coming out for the Echo series from people who've seen the first 2 and 3 episodes, and they're sounding surprisingly promising. From the folks over at Total Film, they wrote this: enjoyed the first 2 episodes of Echo, which had an incredible and violent fight scene I want to watch again and again. The sound design is fire emoji. The brilliant Aliqua Cox continually draws me in, but I found the storytelling and pacing shaky. Excited to see the rest. Paul Klein wrote, if the world-ending stakes of the MCU have you longing for something more grounded, Echo is the gritty tonic. 2 episodes seen, and it's hard-hitting action thriller with a great sense of Native American culture. Can't wait to see the final 3 when they drop in January. The Digital Fix wrote, saw the first 2 episodes of Echo tonight and have had a lot of thoughts. I think fans of Netflix's Daredevil are going to love it. It's like Marvel remembered it can be violent and dark. Aliqua Cox is amazing, although I don't love all the creative decisions, though. Tyler Charles wrote, I've seen 3 episodes of Echo, a grounded character-driven story with hints of bigger things to come. The strong focus on Maya's indigenous heritage and personal history intrigues me, and while some quiet moments slow the pacing, when the action scenes come, they are indeed brutal. And it goes on. So nothing in the realm of, this is the greatest show ever. There's everybody saying, hey, there's some creative decisions, maybe some pacing. But generally speaking, the people who've seen these episodes are saying, this is pretty good. I think a lot of people get excited hearing violent and dark coming from a lot of people, which is kind of what the trailer for Echo seemed to promise to everybody. And that's got a lot of people jumping up. Now, I don't want to be the bucket of cold water, which often seems to be my lot in life, but I would be remiss if I didn't remind all of us that the problem Marvel shows does not have is starting strong. Marvel shows do a great job starting strong. Even She-Hulk started strong. It did. I loved the first episode. I thought the first episode of She-Hulk was great. We all know how that ended up. I loved the first episode of Moon Knight. Ended up pretty disappointed with it. I mean, starting strong is not a problem for Disney Plus shows. Even Obi-Wan, going outside of Marvel, but still Disney Plus. Even Obi-Wan, I thought started strong. And I ended up kind of disappointed with the show, right? Could this be another example of a show that starts strong? So remember, these folks have only seen either the first 2 or in a couple of cases, people saying they saw 3 episodes. That's great. Starting strong is good. You'd rather start strong than not start strong. But can they stick it? Can they finish strong? And that has been the struggle of a lot of Disney Plus shows. Some of them have done it. Many of them have not. So I'm going to be really curious to see this show. I am encouraged to hear the positive stuff that we're getting now, but again, it's only the first couple episodes, so we'll see. Chris, what are you thinking about, and are you surprised to hear the reactions we're getting from Echo, and where's your anticipation level for Echo right now?
I'm so happy to hear this stuff, because I have been really Team Echo for a while, and I knew some people who were working on it. We talked about this, of how there were some issues on set, and how things were kind of messy, so I'm really glad things came together. I love what these people are saying, of comparing it to Daredevil, of talking about how it can be gritty and violent, of giving us a character-driven story. These are all the things that I have been missing and longing for in Marvel. Not necessarily the complete violence. I like a fun Marvel moment. I like some goofiness, but character-driven. That's what I want. When the entire universe is constantly at stake, it doesn't feel as big when that's the constant threat level, right? When that becomes our norm. And I do like grounded human stories where we can feel those really high stakes for people. I'm really intrigued to learn more about her relationship with Kingpin. I'm really excited about this. But like you, I am just nervous about sticking the landing, because that's where we seem to go south on all of these Disney Plus shows, where those first 2-3 episodes, pretty dang good, but then we teeter out either because we rush it because it's only 6 to 8 episodes, or it leaves in a very unsatisfying way. So hopefully they can figure out the magic to do this correctly.
I would say in this case, the math is on the positive side, because there's only 5 episodes on this, not 6. 2 of them are already good to these people. Some saw 3. That means if only 1 sucks, then 4 out of 5, you're majority a good series.
But if it sucks real bad,
well, I don't know.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, see, here's the thing. Like, you can start good, but I mean, if the second half of your show doesn't fulfill the promise of the first bunch of episodes and in and of themselves aren't great, it can make the final product. It's like She-Hulk, right? She-Hulk may have started great, but the problem was that, again, its complete inability to be funny as a comedy ruined the show. And it's not the fact that the first episode wasn't still really good and really interesting the way they set it up. It was. They did a great job setting it up, but then they shit the bed. So I guess, to Jonathan's point, if the first 2 episodes are great and then the final 3 are just then I think the show overall can be considered fine. But if the first 2 episodes are great and then they don't go on to fulfill the promise of what those, like Obi-Wan, right? The first episode, great, getting inside the mind of where Obi-Wan is right now and all that kind of stuff. They set it up great, but then they squandered all of that. And they really they didn't go anywhere with it. And it ultimately kind of left the show wanting. So it all depends. If they can end strong, great. If they can end just okay, the show can still be a positive. But if they do what several of the Disney Plus shows have done and just don't fulfill the promise and just crap the bed in and of itself, it's going to be another show that ends up being a disappointment.
Well, we're coming off of Loki, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. So
I like Loki season 2.
I'm gonna be positive about this. I mean, there's like no other choice but to. But you know what? I'm gonna see what it's about. I didn't finish the Daredevil series on Netflix. I should. I never watched The Punisher. At that time, I believe Netflix was super expensive to me. So I'm going to give this a shot. Hopefully I'm down with it. And hopefully we all find something we can like about it and some positives come out.
All right, guys. With that all down, we're now going to move over and start taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank a couple more sponsors of today's episode, our friends at HelloFresh and Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable, and that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Say hello to a stressless holiday season with the help of HelloFresh. Skip the grocery store and save time with easy, tasty recipes delivered right to your door. Because 'tis the season for giving and gathering, and with HelloFresh, it can also be the season of saving. Actually, save money this month with fresh recipes delivered cheaper than takeout, and with pre-portioned ingredients, you'll never waste money on excess food again. You know, guys, I've often talked about that Ann and I are both working professionals, and it can be a struggle around dinner time to get healthy and delicious meals put together. But with HelloFresh, they make it easy, they make it fun, and they make it delicious. So guys, go to HelloFresh.com/Campea free and use the code Campea free for free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/Campea free with the code Campea free. Guys, we want to take a moment to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Give yourself the gift of insane savings this holiday season with Mint Mobile's best wireless deal of the year. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months for free. That's 6 months of premium wireless service for the price of 3. And Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Seriously, I can't think of a better gift than turning an overpriced wireless bill into just $15 a month with Mint Mobile. I've told you guys many times, since switching to Mint Mobile, I am spending less than a third on my mobile service plan with Mint than I was on the previous big carrier who was my provider. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. So again, for a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at HelloFresh and Mint Mobile for being sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Chris, what do we got up first?
From Enrique. How dare you? Video games are how I deal with stress. If I stop playing, I'll start thinking.
Well, that's
If
King
I start
Shark.
thinking, I will freak the F. King Shark.
I love that quote. Recently they just announced that Harley Quinn got picked up again for another season. I quite enjoyed season 3, but I felt like it was slowed down a little bit. Like I didn't quite like it as much season 1, 2. Hopefully they can get their footing back. But King Shark, who is it? Is it Funches that does the voice?
Ron Funches.
Ron
Does
Funches.
such a good job voicing that character, man. I love that character. All right, what's next?
From Byron. Hey, John, what are your thoughts on the prequel we're getting to Heat from 1995? Adam Driver will be starring as a young Robert De Niro. Also, is Heat the best bank robbing movie of all time?
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not all that excited about it. I don't particularly get excited for prequel stuff. That being said, does it have my attention? Of course it does. Sure. Is it the best bank robbing movie of all time? I don't know. There are some great heist movies, but without sitting down and making a list and trying to come up, I'll say at the very minimum, it's one of the best. I mean, Heat is just such a classic movie, so it'll definitely rank right up there, if not being the best. All right, what's next?
From Marcus. Hey, John, what's your opinion on media literacy these days? It seems so often people actively try to put messaging and metaphors in movies and TVs.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by media literacy. I mean, that there's different ways people can interpret that. So I don't know what it is you're asking, to be honest with you. All right, what's next?
From Future Millionaire. Was actually looking forward to watching Rebel Moon in theaters, but it's not playing anywhere near me, unfortunately, when it has its limited release. Oh.
Yeah, so they did come out and they announced. I remember they put out Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. They did a limited theatrical thing, and I had to do a little bit of a drive to go see it in a theater somewhere, not far, like a half hour away, and enjoyed it. So I just remember them saying they are going to do Rebel Moon in a couple of theaters. I don't know where and when. Look up, see if there's going to be one near you, because I'd be interested in going to see it in a theater first rather than watching it on a TV screen at home, because I think, Snyder is a great visual storyteller, and I would love to see it visually. All right, what's next?
From Lucas Mark. Super impressed with Hellblade 2 last night. Also, I hope that new Hideo Kojima project with Jordan Peele is truly something new and special.
Yeah, the Hellblade, not Blad, the Hellblade 2 trail was actually pretty good. But listen, I gotta say this: the kind of the announcement video for the new one with Jordan Peele was not interesting at all. I have the feeling that they are just at the very, 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 very beginning of developing this game. So they didn't really have anything real to show us. I wasn't impressed by what they showed us, but that's because they didn't have anything to show us. That's fine. Whenever you got somebody like that who's a legend in the one medium, somebody who's becoming a legend in the other medium, and they work together to make something, I mean, that's got a lot of promise. So let's see how that all turns out. Probably not coming to like 2026, 2027, but we'll see. All right, what's next?
From Damaris Love. Video Game Awards were okay. Cannot wait for Black Myth Wukong.
There were a number of games that looked... There were at least 3 game trailers that you would have been forgiven if you thought instantly it was Ghost of Tsushima sequel. That kind of looked that one. But each one of them did look kind of interesting, and that was certainly one of them. All right, what's next?
From Gone with the Cheddar. John, breakdancing will be in the Olympics in 2024.
Where is it?
Will we see the return of the Zodiac crew? Maybe even a Rocky training montage of you all? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
gonna tell you something.
You make a great movie.
I shouldn't tell you this.
Oh, you heard it first.
Go
Okay.
on.
So there's a brand that reached out to me and wanted to know if I had any particular affinity for the brand. And I was like, that brand was all about me in my breakdancing days. Like, don't even guess. Don't even take a guess as to what it is.
Janko jeans.
But I was like, that
Cardboard
brand
boxes.
was like hardcore part of my entire identity back when I was a, believe it or not, professional breakdancer.
Cross-colored jeans.
Jinx.
I think it is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of, that breakdancing is becoming an Olympic event. I think it is one of the, as somebody who's a big fan of breakdancers,
yeah.
I think making an Olympics event is idiotic. I really do.
Why?
Because it's not a sport.
It's amazing what these people can
It's an
do.
art form. Absolutely, it's an art form, but it's not a sport.
But they have gymnastics where they do their floor routine where they're like flipping around.
I know.
Sports
I know.
or games, they're games.
Listen,
The
I'm not
Olympic
talking
games,
about
not Olympic
I
sports.
don't want to get into a what about argument. If you want to ask me about whether I think that breakdancing should be an Olympic sport, as somebody who is a huge appreciator of breakdancers, no, it should not be an Olympic sport. You might as well make checkers an Olympic sport. For all I know, it is an Olympic sport.
Fuck yeah.
Isn't skateboarding an Olympic sport now too?
Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah.
Might be.
Sure it is.
That's what people love to do.
Anyway, I'm not going to get into a what about
It
argument.
doesn't
It's
matter.
just-
John
I
ain't
don't
on the
think it should
Olympics
be.
board, so he ain't taking it from us.
All right,
You
what's
just won't
next?
be watching.
From Devin Lita. No Rabbi Bill Clinton kid at the Game Awards? What? Wait, did I have a stroke? What sentence is this?
I have no idea what he's talking
No
about.
Rabbi Bill
All right, what's
Clinton.
next?
What? From South Texas Shark. Crew, what is your funniest D&D story?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and take 20 minutes to tell it, unfortunately. And not to mention, D&D games are games. People would often ask me, John, why don't you stream your D&D games? Because then the people who play D&D with me won't feel comfortable and they can't be themselves. And there's things you can do and say in your small group of friends that you can't do and say on a live stream in front of like 10,000 other people, right? So no. So those stories will stay private.
He used to play with this guy named Leroy Jenkins, though.
Leroy, you just run out of the house, just totally crazy. All right, what's next?
From Matt Mobile, one of three. Had a shared experience at the theater yesterday that I've never had before. Saw The Boy and the Heron, which was so great, by the way, but during a quiet, dramatic moment in the movie, all of a sudden, the Godzilla theme came blasting in, playing
Bum, bum,
loud
bum,
from
bum.
-1 in the theater next door.
Yes.
It was perfect timing. Someone in the audience even gasped, which made everyone in the theater erupt in laughter. It was so hilarious. I love that.
That has been a problem a couple of times. Now, I found in more modern movie theaters where that's been taken into account. I don't often hear sound bleed. Like when I'm in, say, the AMC Tyler Galleria in Riverside, which is where I go to see most, not all, but most of my movies, I usually don't get sound bleed. Now, it can happen, though. It can happen. I've been in theaters where you could totally hear the car chase in the movie playing in the theater next to you. And it can be really distracting and upsetting, especially if the movie you're watching is a quieter movie.
Yep. -1. We
As
heard-
a matter of fact, it did happen to me a little bit. I was watching the new Nicolas Cage film Dream Scenario, and it's a very, very boring and quiet movie. And because it was so quiet, so I could hear a little bit of Beyonce's movie playing in the theater next to me, which made it a little bit more tolerable to watch. But yeah, that can be an unfortunate situation for sure. All right, what's next?
From Clay Woodley. I'm so excited for Godzilla Kong 2. What is even more exciting is it comes out on April 12th, which is my 29th birthday.
Oh, nice.
I hope that it's awesome. Aw.
I hope it's awesome too. And listen, I am somebody who appreciates the fact, and we talked about this before, I appreciate the fact that we are getting different kinds of Godzilla and giant monster action, right? Like you're getting the purely human story focused Monarch, and that show's been amazing. You get the more traditional, oh no, it's Godzilla kind of stuff with -1, which was amazing. And then you get the more comic book like fun action hero Godzilla stuff like you do with Godzilla versus Kong and Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire, whatever the new one's called, coming out. And I got a real kick out of the trailer. I thought the trailer was a lot of fun. Very different from -1, but we've got -1. I don't need another -1. So it's kind of cool that we're getting this diverse kind of content all revolved around the Godzilla character, which is kind of neat. I'm looking forward to that movie. All right, what's next?
From Dwayne Fernandez, hey John, Deadline did an article today, after Puck, saying that Paramount and Amazon were circling Coyote versus Acme. So maybe there's hope.
Well, yeah, but again, as I quoted in the story that we did, they're circling it, but they've not actually made any offers. And that's the thing. And until somebody actually puts on paper and makes an offer with a dollar amount, then it's not real. It's like if you're selling a house, you say, ooh, all these people came to look at the house. That's cool. Did anybody make an offer? No. Then nobody looked at the house. And so it's fine to say, and listen, I would think that every studio is interested in it. Listen, when you got a completed piece of content that's just up for grabs, you'd be an idiot if you're a studio and not at least be interested. But are you willing to actually write a check for it? And are you willing to write a check large enough that it's actually enough to make it worth the while of the people selling it? And according to the Deadline article, nobody's making an offer. Now, I'm optimistic. I think it will get sold. And I think it's going to come in around, it's going to take about 45 million is going to be my guess. And somebody will write that check. And I think it'll be Netflix. But as of right now, it's fun to say, so-and-so is circling it. Did they make an offer? No? Then it's not a real thing yet. All right, what's next?
From Andy, started watching Squid Game, The Challenge over the weekend, and you weren't kidding, John. There's plenty of drama in this. I hate player 432, Brighton, the arrogant, narcissistic football player, and 161, Lorenzo, the guy who stole food, and was so happy to see them eliminated. I love the mom and son duo.
And was there, oh yeah.
Oh, and Rick and Steven from Gang Boo Gang, who weren't related but came off like a father and son duo.
Yeah.
Gang Boo Gang were crippled when that duo was eliminated.
So I got to say, Ann and I watched the finale the other day, and I won't say how it ends. Ann and I watched the finale, and I got to say, this is one of those really great, pleasant surprise situations to me where the movie or show was coming out, and I was like, this isn't that great of an idea. I mean, I get where you're doing it from a business perspective because Squid Game was so popular, but this is going to be dumb. I mean, who's going to be interested in this really? Like in the show, when people lose a game, they die. So there's stakes, right? There's something really, these people are fighting for their lives. And so you feel that as a viewer. Squid Game, they're not really going to kill anybody. They didn't even shoot them with a paintball pellet. They had pre-installed squibs in there that just would go psh, to make it look like they got shot. I wanted a sniper shooting them with paintballs. That's at least give me that. And they didn't do it. And I thought this is going to be a waste. But they found a way to manufacture tension and stress and drama. And like none of these people are dying. But oh my God, they made you feel the drama of it. And I was so impressed with how they did it and made me do a complete 180 on this show. Like especially during the bridge walk where you got to land on a spot and then hopefully the floor doesn't just open and you fall to your apparent death. I mean, even I was like, and all of a sudden they did such a great job. They even made a game of paper, rock, scissors, turn my stomach into knots. I don't know how they did it, but all I say is this. At the end of Squid Game, they do this little sketch and then they bring up like squidgamecontestants.com or something where you can go to apply to be on the next season of Squid Game. And my wife immediately went to her computer to start signing up to be on Squid Game. So, I mean, they did a great job making it feel dramatic and tense. I was really impressed. All right, what's next?
From Raymond, thoughts on the Mr. and Mrs. Smith teaser on Amazon?
I didn't watch it yet. I got notified that it dropped, didn't have a chance to look at it. This is a project that's been through some bumps because the person who was supposed to be doing it with Donald Glover ended up not doing it. And it's from the first teaser we saw, it's a very different kind of premise than, because in the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it turns out these two undercover agents are both secret agents and their own spouse doesn't know it. They both think they're, this one is they get into it together. So it's a totally different premise. So anyway, I haven't watched the trailer yet. I'll watch that later today and we'll probably talk about it next week. All right, what's next?
From Ian McAllister, God of War is giving a blessing with a free DLC in 5 days. Take notes, everyone. So excited for the show.
You know, one of the biggest pops that came out of the Game Awards yesterday amongst the audience was, say, this new thing, and then the PlayStation logo came up. Then you see this, you know, water and some islands, and a boat starts coming in, and it's Kratos from God of War. And the audience lost their minds. And then it's this, it turns out it's a new addition to God of War Ragnarok, and it's called God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. And it's basically an add-on to the game, and they dropped it right away. So it's available now, and it's free. And everybody lost their minds, right? So it was 3 things. Boom, new God of War content. Boom, it's not coming out in 2025. It's right now. And boom, it's totally free if you already have God of War Ragnarok. And so everybody lost their minds. And a part of me, the skeptical part of me wondered, is this PR for PlayStation getting rid of everybody's Discovery content? I doubt it, but it just kind of seemed like a weird thing. But man, that's a great way to win some goodwill back from your fan base. It's a real good way to do it. All right, what's next?
From TJ Perry. Oh, wait, excuse me. From Raymond Viard again. Is Godzilla male or female? Not anatomically correct. Oh, I know this.
They usually refer to Godzilla as he, but I have no idea.
Yes. So in the original films, Godzilla was always referred to just as it, the creature, etc. And then the English translations were always he. King of the monsters, obviously, constantly. But typically has always been male, even in the 1998 one.
When he laid eggs.
When he laid eggs, because it was through parthenogenesis, which is an asexual form of reproduction.
Wow.
Because he ain't got a peener.
No.
Nope.
He's just a baby.
Yeah.
Although he's got the big dick energy. All right.
You gotta to destroy towns like that with that much chutzpah.
What's next?
From TJ Perry. Fun fact, per Statistista, the video game industry, 192 billion, generates more annual revenue than film, TV, 100 billion, and music, 26 billion combined.
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind, it's because to even play a game, you have to buy a $300 console. And then instead of paying a $10 ticket to go see a movie, you have to drop $70 or whatever it is to buy a game. And then there's all the other accessories and stuff like that. So for you to play a game, like today, if I wanted to go in and play and go in cold, if I wanted to play Spider-Man 2 today cold, then today I'm probably, if I want to get also an extra controller so somebody can play with me, I'm probably dropping $400 or $500. Whereas if I'm going to go see a movie, I'm probably dropping 12. But yes, I mean, that's a significant thing. But it's also kind of like saying, you know, the passenger airliner industry makes more money than the movie industry does. Well, yeah, because every single plane costs $1 million or more or whatever. But yes, that is absolutely statistically true. All right, what's next?
From Andy, just found out Netflix released an original musical yesterday called The Archies, a Bollywood film adaptation of Archie comics set in 1960s India. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Oh, Andy, we need some recaps.
What does that even look like?
I'm stoked.
Because, I mean, because the whole nature of Archie, right? Forget Riverdale. The whole nature of Archie is the whole nostalgia of 1960s America, 1950s, 1960s America. So what does that look like set in India? I'd be very curious to check that out, actually. That's what Chris is doing right now. I can see her already. She's looking it up right now.
Really want to know about it.
All right, what's next?
From Byron Needle, have any of you seen One Tokyo Vice on HBO? Excellent show that's returning next year.
That's with Baby Driver.
Yes.
In it, right?
Can't remember his name.
No.
Just the baby
Driver.
Ansel Elgort, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
I can't remember if I watched it.
It was with that also that guy.
Yeah, I remember the show
too, right?
I remember the show
Japanese guy?
completely.
Might have been.
No,
I know
can't.
Rob was really excited about it because he loved the book.
Yeah. I
Hold on, let me
cannot
see.
now remember if I saw it. How often does that happen where I said I can't remember if I saw it? It's either I saw it or no, I can't remember if I saw it, to be honest.
Ken
with you.
Watanabe was in it.
Ken Watanabe's in there.
Yeah, okay.
I remember hearing great things about it. I remember I didn't watch it initially, and then I heard great things about it, but did I actually get around to watching it? I can't remember. If I can't remember, I'm going to lean towards no, but I might have. All right, what's next?
From Disgraceful Entertainment. As a longtime defender of Echo, I will say if the show is good and sticks the landing, I will laugh in the faces of the people who doubted it.
Okay, but that's dumb. Because you have thought 100 things would be bad that you ended up liking too. Like when a project's coming out, all people do, all we can do is speculate. Like we think it looks good, we think it looks bad, and sometimes it turns out being exactly what we thought, and sometimes it turns out exactly that we didn't. And that's why, like, whenever I talk about the fact that, yeah, I said this thing wouldn't do well at the box office, and it didn't do well at the box office, I'll also remind you that I didn't think the first Aquaman would make $1 billion. And it did make $1 billion, right? So all we do is speculate and guess based on what we think something looks like. And so, listen, if it ends up being great, wonderful, but you don't forget Disgraceful Entertainment. You in your life have probably thought 100 different things looked terrible that you ended up liking too. So everybody's on an equal playing field. All right, what's next?
From Daniel Flores. Why can't Marvel court drama be good as Better Call Saul?
It could be if you write it well. By the way, it was never meant to be a Better Call Saul. It was meant to be an Ally McBeal. And they started off well, but again, if you are a comedy and you're not funny, and She-Hulk was simply not funny, had a couple of really funny moments, but She-Hulk just in general not funny. You can't be a comedy and then be not funny. And it could have been a great Ally McBeal. Ally McBeal is one of the great shows. I used to love Ally McBeal. And when I heard that they were going to do She-Hulk in an Ally McBeal style, I got super excited, but they failed. They just simply failed at it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not interested in an MCU courtroom drama that's a Breaking Bad. I'm not interested in that. The more Ally McBeal thing was more interesting to me. I love Breaking Bad, but I don't want to see an MCU meet Breaking Bad. Not really interested. All right, what's next?
From, B. Gill Studios. Hi, guys. Since we're getting a Blade game, what are your thoughts on a Doctor Strange or Shang-Chi game? Curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
It's irrelevant. It's kind of like, here's the thing. It's like when people ask me, who should the villain be in this movie? I always say it doesn't matter who they make the villain, right? All that matters is do they write the villain well, regardless of what villain you get. So like Dr. Doom is nobody disagrees that Dr. Doom is one of the great, if not the greatest comic book villain ever, at least right up there, right? But they put Dr. Doom in 3 other comic book movies, and that didn't save those movies. There have been other comic book movies with rather relative unknown villains, but they turn out being brilliant because they wrote the character brilliantly. It doesn't matter who they make a game about. You can do a Doctor Strange game, you can do a Shang-Chi game, and yeah, I love Shang-Chi, so I'd be interested in seeing that. But at the end of the day, unless you make a great game, the fact that that game was Doctor Strange or Shang-Chi or Wanda or Monica Rambeau or Black Widow, it doesn't matter. If you make a bad game, it doesn't matter what character you put into it. So I'm kind of agnostic on that. It's like, I don't care who they make a game about, as long as you make a good game.
I'm down with a Shang-Chi game. I mean, the Kung Fu like video game market is
Lends itself to it.
It's like very minimal right now. There hasn't been Sifu was pretty good. I would welcome that. Doctor Strange would be ridiculously mad. the things that they could put
it
in
would
that.
be psychedelic.
Yeah.
I mean, that if they did it right, it would be psychedelic. All right, what's next?
From Bacchio Blues?
Yeah.
Is the Accountant 2 being greenlit? Is the Accountant 2 being greenlit legit?
I don't think so. Here's the problem. We've heard several times over the past 5 years that, they're going to do an Accountant 2. We hear the Accountant 2's been greenlit. They're really talking about it. But that's all it's ever been. It's been talk for the last 5 years. I love The Accountant. I love that movie. Ben Affleck, John Bernthal. I think the movie's fantastic. I would love to see another one, but at this point, I don't think they're going to do another one. I hope they do. But they've been talking about it for 5 years, and I haven't seen anything legit. All right, what's next?
From CJ Rebirth, Godzilla -1 is my #1 movie this year. Yes, even passing Oppenheimer and Across the Spider-Verse. Also my favorite Zilla movie ever, and all the humans were great. especially the main couple and the pilot's friends.
I'm glad you liked it that much. I don't like it that much. Like, I had a great time with it. I think the movie's wonderful. I think it's my favorite Godzilla movie ever. It's not going to be in my top 5, but it was really good. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad it is your top one. I'm glad you had that much fun at it, man. I think a lot of people are having a really good time watching it. And you know what else? It's a great Godzilla movie for somebody who's never seen a Godzilla movie. That's one of the best things about Godzilla -1. It's literally, it's a great, you never have to have seen any Godzilla movie ever. And this would be a great entry point for somebody to see their first Godzilla movie. It's a great example of it. All right, what's next?
From Wesley Cunningham, hey crew, what are the honest chances of a doc or something on the DCEU Snyder Cut saga?
0.
Developing the DCEU to compete with the MCU, studio turmoil, wild fan campaigns, the new JL release, eventual reboot into the DCU, a Hollywood story like that, I'd be surprised a docuseries or even narrative film isn't being kicked around.
Nah, it would never be able to clear legal. There's just like the rights holders of all the material involved would never consent. It's just that. And I don't think you get people on either side that would ever get to send. You can't even base it on a book, because I don't think anybody will be given right or consent to even make a book about it. So I think the chances are, I mean, listen, anything can happen in this world. Anything can happen. I can't definitively say it won't. My guess is, since you're asking for a guess, my guess is 0. I don't think we'll ever see it. But again, nothing's impossible. All right, what's next?
From J Superboy. Hey guys, this question is for Chris. Which is harder, voice acting for animation or video games? I would imagine it's video games because of the mocap, but then again, maybe it helps you get into character. But I'm not a voice actor, hence the question. Keep it filthy.
But not all like voice acting in video games also require mocap.
Correct. Yeah. Sometimes you're doing just the voiceover. Someone else is doing the motion capture part. If you were doing everything that's full performance capture, I have not had the luxury of doing that yet. I have auditioned. One of my auditions, I made the fatal mistake of shooting a machine gun, and I made the machine gun noises with my mouth. And they were like, you don't have to do that, babe. And I was like, oh, I know that. I know that now. So my experience in animation too is mostly in anime. And what's difficult about that is you're matching the mouth flaps. I know that's a horrible, horrible phrase, but that's what you're doing, is you're trying to match your English words into the mouth of this animated character who is speaking a different language. So you're looking at your lines, which you've gotten for the first time. You don't get them ahead of time, and are looking at those and looking at the screen and trying to match the already acting intentions of that animated character and saying their lines fluently without saying anything wrong.
Oh, wow.
So that tends to be more difficult. My experience in video games has only been voice acting. And what really helps, honestly, is going through the motions. A lot of noises for combat can sound like mom and dad wrestling. And it's much easier to make a punch sound like a punch, one, if you throw it and if you get specific about it, right? Impact noises, if you think about getting slapped in the face versus being hit in the stomach, those are very, very different noises. So that has a little more fluidity to it and a little more naturalism to it than what I've had to do in animation. But that's just my personal experience. I'm not one of those top tier actors who's been doing, Disney stuff. So it's a very different thing. Although I auditioned again for Disney this week, so.
All right, what's next?
From Lore Howard. Hello, my film-loving friends. Have you seen the trailer for Origin by Ava DuVernay? Looks good. Thoughts?
I've read a lot of things about it. I'm very curious, but I have not seen, I didn't even know a trailer was out. So did any of you guys see it?
No.
No, it's totally slipped under my radar if it's actually out. It slipped under my radar. All right, what's next?
From Sean, I'm seeing my favorite Christmas movie tonight in the theater for the first time, Die Hard. Hell yes, Sean.
I had a ticket
just
for
to
it.
be clear, though, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Yes,
It's
it
fine.
is.
I
It's
had a
about
ticket
going to
for
a
it
family
tonight.
obligation you don't want to go to. It's Christmas.
No, it's not a Christmas movie whatsoever.
Some opinions just don't have to be made.
I know.
Not in the least. Bruce Willis
Some are just so
said
weird.
it
Willis
is
is a
not a
Christmas
Christmas
actor.
movie.
So
So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
it's a movie that it takes place at Christmas time, but it's not a Christmas movie.
Still
It's
fun
a
to watch
Christmas
during
movie.
Christmas.
All right, what's next? It is fun to watch at Christmas. It's fun to watch any time of the year.
That's true.
Die Hard.
And that's one of those movies where literally if it's on, I can just
Oh,
pick
it's the
up
best.
anywhere in it and then just keep watching it.
Yeah, same with me. An employee of the month. Terminal.
Shout out to
Employee of
fan
the
of the
month.
show, John Pearson. He is making an entire Die Hard themed Christmas tree. It's
Oh,
amazing.
that's fun.
It's going to be really, really cool.
All right, let's take a couple more. What's next?
From, what's the name on that one, Jonathan? Thank you. From Sadul Hassan. What were your thoughts on the new Deadpool 3 photos that Ryan Reynolds posted?
They were hilarious. For those of you who didn't see, Ryan Reynolds posted, leaked set photo pictures where, and I'll tell you, in one or two of them, the Photoshop work is so good. Ray, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I saw.
But it's a legitimate picture of Ryan in the Deadpool suit and Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine suit on set. It's a legitimate picture. But he got somebody to Photoshop somebody in an alien or a predator costume on it. And it's like, oh my God, that looked so real. It looked so great. And then he put out a whole bunch of those. And then Hugh Jackman got into it. He Photoshopped himself as the Greatest Showman in it and Ryan as Green Lantern in it. So I mean, look, leave it to Ryan Reynolds to pull something like that. I thought it was great. All right, what's next?
From Yotij, the director of the Zelda live action says he's going for a Hayao Miyazaki vibe. Studio Ghibli, Spirited Away, Boy and the Heron. I never played a Zelda game, but that sounds pitch perfect to me. Thoughts?
Yeah, with some changes. Yes, the spirit of that is, if you play the game, the spirit of the game kind of has a feeling for those, right? Just as long as you don't incorporate any Graveyard of the Fireflies, then you're okay. But yeah, that adapted a little bit for the more upbeat action sort of thing. It would be the perfect DNA.
Probably closer to like a Princess Mononoke vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right, what's next?
From Greg Scott Bailey, went to see the 4K re-release of The Abyss at my Regal.
Nice.
I had never seen the film on the big screen, and it was an absolute delight. You can see Cameron's love for the ocean in this film and what would lead into Titanic and Avatar 2. The camera work, the flow of the story, and those edge-of-your-seat, closed-quarter moments underwater were incredible.
I did not go to see the 4K re-release, but it's a great movie. I love The Abyss. I absolutely love that film. It's one that, the visual effects are looking their age. Yes. But aside from that, that's a movie you could put out today and be perfectly relevant. It's fab. If you haven't had a chance to watch The Abyss yet, definitely check it out. Ray. All right, what's next?
From, where are we at?
From
bottom. Mr. Hank Dunn. Got my tickets for the next mystery movie, hoping it's Aquaman, but it'll probably be Boys in the Boat.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be Aquaman. They don't seem to be going for the tent poles.
No.
It's this coming Monday, is it not?
Yeah.
I'm going to take a shot in the dark. I'm going to think it's going to be Wonka.
Yeah?
I think it's going to be Wonka. Could be wrong. I don't see them doing
Claw.
it for Aquaman. What's that?
Could be Iron Claw too.
Uh,
What do you think?
I think Iron Claw is rated R though.
Oh, okay.
And I think they said this movie's
look at any of the
PG-13.
sets.
I could be wrong. Maybe Iron Claw's rated PG-13, but I thought it was rated R. Could be wrong about that.
Yeah, probably is.
I am very interested in Iron Claw. I can't wait to see that. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making the show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank the people in the room with me. We got Ray Ora.
Have a great Wednesday.
Jonathan Voico.
See you Monday.
Chris Carr.
bye. I hope I didn't get everyone sick today.
Yeah, we're all
My
sick
name's
now.
John Campea. And until next time, my friends, go play Baldur's Gate 3.